Hi guys, how you doing? Well, I'm doing okay. I would like to continue, I wasn't intending to, of what I said yesterday about California, specifically San Francisco, wanting to eliminate the label of felon from felons. Okay. Now, I voiced my view yesterday amidst that fire alarm. Uh, and later on that evening, yesterday evening, while I was watching the Five, they were making the exact same points that I was making. So I felt pretty good about that. I was shouting at the TV, aha, I said that. Yes, I said that. My opinion has been, supported. That I wasn't talking out of my hat. I was talking from common sense. And also in all the years I've studied psychology and sociology, that stigmas are there for a reason. It is there to deter or discourage those kind of behaviors, because we want to get we as human beings like to get, or like to receive, that's a better word, like to receive love and acceptance, and what is wrong in most parents is that they never, and I learned this or realized this 30 years ago, when I was younger, and I would see how bad behavior got responded to and good behavior got ignored. Okay. And when I saw that because bad reaction is better than no reaction at all. And that was something that I had said years ago, that we have to respond to good behavior. But the problem is that parents do not respond to good behavior because that is what is expected of the child. Okay. And that's what is expected actually of the child's behavior from the adult. So when the child does good, he does not get acknowledged for doing that good. And so the child does bad to get a response, to get a reaction. And a bad reaction is better than no reaction at all. I remember asking my father, I said, I would love it if you would just say, good job, I'm proud of you. And Dad says, you get a paycheck, don't you? Well, yes, I get a paycheck, and I'm not fired. So yeah, in a sense, my work has been satisfactory. Couldn't even think of that word. So because my work is satisfactory, I'm not fired, and I still get a paycheck. And Dad is saying that is the boss's way of saying you're doing a good job, is that you're still employed and you get a paycheck. But still you like to get that kind of positive reinforcement. And when you get your positive behavior rewarded with a compliment, with a praise, we do this with dogs. Why don't we do this with people? Okay, I think it's bad that we treat dogs better than we treat ourselves. Because you think about it, right? You want your dog to do what you want him to do. And when he does, you say, good dog, good dog, good boy, right? But you never say that to your son. Or most people do, or some people don't. Some people don't say, good job, Junior, good job. I'm proud of you, son. I never got that. I never got that growing up, that my dad was proud of me, or telling me I'm doing a good job, And so if we reward good behavior as well as condemn bad behavior, then there's something that the child could compare and say, I like it when Dad praises my good behavior, and I don't like it when he condemns my bad behavior. So I will continue to do good behavior and exhibit good behavior. So I will continue getting those praises and acceptance, And that's basically how it works. You praise the good behavior, you condemn the bad behavior. And if you do that, as a parent, that you do both, you just don't do one and not the other. Because, it's expected. Well, you know what? And the same thing about love. I love you, son. And some parents don't say that because, he knows I love him. Yeah, maybe so, but we'd like to hear it. There's a commercial on now about hearing aids, how the son says, I love you, Dad. What? I said, I love you. And then finally, when the father got the hearing aid, he said, I heard you the first time. I just wanted to hear it again. That says it all. That says it all. Whether it's a father wanting to hear that from his son or son wanting to hear that from his father. We want to hear praise. We want to hear, I'm proud of you. We want to hear, I love you. We want to hear all those positive things. And when we don't, we tend to go towards bad behavior because that gets a response. Bad response is better than no response at all. And that's basically what's so wrong about it. So, when they said yesterday about wanting the felon to feel good or feel better, I was like, whoa, I didn't think of that. I mean, they added an element that I didn't even think of. So I thought, I think I want to talk about that because, maybe that will help me better understand what is this attraction about relabeling felons, and eliminating the stigma of felon. And they want to make the felon feel better. And I thought, you don't do that by changing the label. You do that through rehabilitation. You do that through getting the person to feel remorse for what he's done or she's done. And I'm experiencing that firsthand within my own family, where a member of my family was treating me and my last girlfriend really, really badly. And family wanted me just to forget about it, sweep it under the rug. Well, I'm sorry, but I am not going to do that. Because you do that, and that family member is not going to experience a consequence to that unwanted treatment. Okay? You want to discourage bad behavior, and you want to discourage and felon, the label of felon, is intended to make the person regret what he did or she did. If they wear it like they're saying and they can't get away from it, well, guess what? Maybe that will be a regret. And there is nothing wrong with regrets. I'm the king of regrets. Okay, that's one thing, and I don't feel better through my regrets because my behavior, or rather my choices, resulted in bad things or bad situations, which I punish myself for. Now, do I want to feel better? If I try to feel better about it, then we're diminishing what I did, and it will not deter me. I will not learn my lesson. See, we learn our lessons by our bad choices, and if we do something that was terribly wrong, we it's not what we want, it's what we need, and I've said this many times that, somebody tells me what I want to hear, and that is, I think, what we tend to be drawn to, hearing what we want to hear. But I don't want to hear what I think I want to hear. I want to hear what I need to hear. I need to hear this. Okay, so yeah, it's like, okay, I'll give you a certain situation. Okay, actually, not a situation. All right, and I go back to atonement for sin. Okay, and in the Jewish tradition, atonement is consisted of 3 stages, and those 3 stages exist within the Kol Nidre on Yom Kippur Eve, and during the Kol Nidre it's chanted 3 times. 3 times. The first time it's chanted straight and direct, and that metaphorically is saying that we acknowledge the wrong that we did. Then the second time it's chanted, it's metaphorically saying and it's with angst, terrible, terrible angst, and metaphorically that says not only do we acknowledge what we did, but we feel incredible remorse for doing what we did. Then the third time it's chanted with conviction, with strength, and with resolve. And that metaphorically is saying we acknowledge our sin, we feel remorse by the sin, and we're committed to do better. Yes. And that's basically what is represented in the rabbi's understanding of the Garden of Eden story, where the man and the woman did not acknowledge the sin that they did, rather putting the blame elsewhere. He should have said, you know what, God, I did disobey you, I am so sorry, I know I should have done it, and I did it, how can I make it up to you? But they didn't do that. They passed the buck. The man said, the woman made me do it, and you, God, you brought her to me, so you're the reason that I sin. You made me sin, or she made me sin. I was I don't take responsibility. It's her fault that I sinned. It is your fault, God, that I sinned. And the same thing with the woman. The woman stood and said, "You're right, God. The man told me not to eat from the tree, and I did, and I was wrong, and I'm so sorry. How could I make it up to you, God?" But she didn't do that. She passed the buck, blamed the serpent. The serpent made me do it. So they were, according to the rabbis, midrash on the Garden of Eden story, the man and the woman were exiled from the garden, not because they disobeyed God, but because they failed to take responsibility for their actions. Okay, that is the basic core of Judaism, about accountability and our behavior and how we treat others. That has to be in the center of everything. Everything else revolves around that. But that is part of the very core of Jewish teaching and Jewish values, is that we're human, we make mistakes, but the part of being a mensch and being a lovely person and a good person is we acknowledge when we do wrong, we feel remorse for doing wrong, and we commit ourselves to do better, which we do anyway every New Year's Eve. All right, but we have our choices. Everybody has choices, and if you choose to commit a felonious act, there are consequences, and there's the shame and the guilt, which is important in changing behavior. It's not enough to just do prison reform. Yeah, that's good, but there needs to be something more, something that is basic in the core of the person who committed this felonious act, and that is acknowledging you did wrong, feeling remorse for doing wrong, and committing yourself to do better. That's how the felon feels better, not by eliminating the label. The felon feels better about himself by acknowledging what he did wrong, by feeling remorse for doing wrong and anybody he hurt in the process, and committing to do better. That is the way the felon feels better. And for them to get rid of the deterrent label to attempt for them to feel better, it's not going to do it. I mean, because they will not learn from that mistake, and they'll do it again. And they will keep doing it because they feel they're not compelled to change their behavior. It's the label of felon that will or should influence changing your behavior. You don't like feeling this way, you don't like the stigma of being a felon, well, only you can change it. But they want to change it and say, we're not going to use the word felon anymore, just so that it can feel better. But what we want to do is we want to make sure the person learns from his mistakes, feels, and not do it again. That will make him feel better. He says, look, I made this terrible mistake. I did commit this felonious act, and I am committed to change my behavior. I don't like it, and that's why I am going to change myself to redeem myself in society's eyes. That is the way it's done. It's not done by eliminating the word. Okay. You eliminate the shame and the stigma by changing your behavior. And the stigma will do that because it's what I also said about my interpretation of people going to heaven and being denied God's presence for not changing their ways on earth and not atoning for their own sins. And so and I said this to the rabbi, I said, the way I interpret that phrase or that verse about being denied God's presence, they would be placed in solitary confinement in heaven with nothing to see, nothing to smell, nothing to hear except himself or herself. And when the person cannot take it anymore and say, okay, I am so sorry, I shouldn't have done it, please forgive me. Once he atones for that sin, then God will release that person from solitary confinement and will now then be rewarded by God's Shekinah, God's presence. So we want these felons to be reformed, but they have to feel it themselves. It's part of basic psychology, of us all on earth, that he's not going to change unless and until he himself wants to change himself. You can't make him change. He's got to want to do it. That's what we all want, and that's what we all say. So how is this any different? We want the person to change his ways. We want the person to be productive in society. That's not going to happen by eliminating the label of felon. The label felon is there for a reason, and that is the stigma allotted with the branding of felon is intended to force the person to change their ways, which is what we want. Okay, change the label like they're doing. Matter of fact, changing the label will only make it worse by your attempt to make them feel better about it, or feel better about themselves, or just feel better. It's not. It's counterproductive. So, that's basically what I wanted to say with that. And now this morning I was watching Fox and Friends, and they were covering the Democrats and the media on the policies at the border. And they are now accusing Trump of mistreatment of migrant children. And they're still saying, so it's not the children are in cages, so separation of families, which has proven that it was not his policy, it was Obama's. So now, since that was debunked, now they're saying, okay, they're not separated, but now the families are in cages. My God. Well, you don't even acknowledge you were wrong. And just now accuse Trump of putting families in cages. What about separation of family? Oh, we're not saying anything about that. We're talking about, families in cages. So even though there's no separation of families, quote unquote, they won't even acknowledge that they were wrong about that. Instead, they're going to focus on families being in cages. which was just as much debunked as separation of families. So now families are in cages. So I'm saying, will you shut up about the cages? They're not cages. I mean, there's so much footage of what's going on down there. Well, yeah, they're detained because they entered our country illegally. They committed a crime back crossing the border. That's why you want to decriminalize it, right? Because it's a crime. So, if it's a crime, then just like in this country, if somebody commits a crime, they're placed in detention facilities, mostly jail, okay? They're all detention, okay? Every jail is a detention facility, although we call it jail, okay? But they are waiting to hear their case. So these politicians and the news media keep spitting the same lies over and over and over again. Well, I guess the sky is purple plaid, and the sky will remain purple plaid until they tell the truth and stop it with the lies. And as long as they're going to keep spitting these ancient lies, it's still a lie. Even after the 26,000th time you said it, it's still a lie. If it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's a duck. Okay? So, and there's nothing you can do that can change it. Okay? A lie is a lie. And no matter how many times you say that lie, it's still a lie. The sky is still purple plaid. Trees are blue, your hedges are orange, the sky is green. Okay. And every time I hear that same lie out of their mouths about families in cages, and now they've added a new one, children being mistreated. I mean, yeah, we saw video of kids being mistreated. They're out playing ball, kickball or whatever, soccer. They're having a blast. They're having a ball. They have TV. They're playing video games. Oh yeah, they're being mistreated, all right. Jeez. Oh yeah. So keep spinning those lies. Keep saying about children being mistreated. The sky is purple plaid, the sun is green, the trees are blue, and the hedges are orange. And as long as you keep your lie up, I'll keep my lie up. I think it's fair. Yeah, two wrongs don't make a right. But they're not going to change. And they're not going to change. So every time I hear that same lie, that goes way back to 2017, 2 years ago, I'm going to keep saying sky, purple plaid, the sun is green, the tree is blue, your hedges are orange. Right? So, and it's just so frustrating. It's like, will you change that broken record? You're wearing out the needle. What happens when your needle wears out and you won't be able to play that stupid record? You know. They won't care. They don't care. They're sick. They're sick people. To want to murder children, yeah, that's sick. Children born, yeah, that's sick. And the conditions with which you let your city's residents live in. the squalor, the disease that they're living in. And I'm going to say this about Baltimore too, about the rat-infested disease city the residents have to suffer in. So I'm not calling them rats like you on the left are accusing us of doing, that you're accusing Trump of doing. And once again, the four ladies were told not, if he said, yeah, if you don't like it here, then leave. And then on a separate statement, he says, why don't you go back to your crime-infested places of which you came? Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Detroit, and New York. Thank you. That's what he meant. That is what he meant. Fix them and come back to Washington, D.C. and show us and tell us how you fixed it. That is what Trump said. And as long as they're sounding like a broken record, I gotta sound like a broken record. Because it was so clear what Trump was saying. In everything Trump said, he said about Baltimore that Baltimore is a rat-infested city. He wasn't calling the residents there rats. Come on, use your brain for once. He was talking about the conditions of the city that the residents are forced to live in. Clean up the rat infestation, like New York did. Do you think David Letterman was talking about New Yorkers when he complained about rats all over the city? No, right? David Letterman, when he talked about rats, the rat problem, he wasn't talking about New Yorkers. He wasn't referring to New Yorkers when he said that. Come on, use your brain. Rats are rats. Rats infestation is not the residents. Trump is complaining about health conditions of the city. And I have never visited Haiti, so he calls Haiti a shithole that the residents have to live in. He's complaining about the conditions, the health conditions, you know. And when you neglect, like if I neglect a part of my body, I will know it eventually. When infection sets in. So rat infestation is like an infection in the city. The city is now suffering an infection of rats due to neglect. Because nobody, what would happen? Okay, I'll give you another one. What would happen if you don't dust in your house? Housekeeping comes in every day and cleans my room, sweeps, mops, dusts, all over the room. What most people do in their homes, they clean, they mop, they sweep, they dust. They see a cobweb, they get rid of it. They clean so no dust sets in. If nobody comes to do that, then that worsens health conditions. Okay. And basically Trump was saying, your cities, and I looked it up on the computer, on Wikipedia, about Cincinnati, Minneapolis, Detroit, and New York. The places that the squad comes from. And the crime rate is up in those cities. A couple of those cities are designated as the most dangerous to live. Okay, so he was talking about sending the squad back to their cities that they came from. Clean it up, fix the problems like they did in New York. 42nd Street in Times Square was a mecca for drugs, sex, disease, and all that stuff. And so what the mayor did, he came in and cleaned that all up. Got rid of it. So then Times Square became a family-oriented attraction. So those visiting New York can go to Times Square. It's like a party now. It's all cleaned up. It's sparkling clean. It's family-oriented. It's fun. And a tourist attraction. That's the whole point. Clean up the city. Clean up the ghetto, like the song said. Back in 1977, I didn't realize it then. 125th Street in the Bronx used to be very highly prestigious places. Now, because of neglect, now they're in ruin, and they're high crime rate because you don't take care of it. If you don't take care of yourself, I'll give you my mouth. Okay. Everybody brushes their teeth. I didn't, and I'm always honest. But this is why I had dental problems and why I have no teeth anymore, because I never learned to brush my teeth. My teeth went into neglect, and when my teeth went into neglect, cavities started to form, bacteria started in, and one by one, the teeth began to fall out. I have nobody but myself to blame. I neglected the care and the cleaning of my teeth, and now I don't have them anymore. My own actions. Neglect is what brings about disease, infection, and decay. Okay, you don't clean up your house, you don't brush your teeth, you don't clean up the city, it falls into ruin, infestation, decay, and squalor. Okay, so Trump wasn't referring to the people of Haiti, the people of Baltimore. No, he was complaining about the conditions that people were forced to live in. That is so undignified that human beings have to live in such squalor. And that is what Trump is talking about. About the squad going back to their cities by saying places. Okay, so you're going to attack them. I'm not saying cities, it's in places. Big damn deal. But that's what he was talking about. And I looked it up, like I said, that the places, the cities that they came from, are high crime. New York, Detroit, Minneapolis, and Cincinnati. That's where they came from. And Trump is saying, go back to your places, go back to your cities, where you came from, fix it, and come back to Washington. Tell us how you did it. That's what Trump said. And that's all what Trump said. So every time they spit a lie, I say, okay, well, then the sky is purple plaid, the sun is green, the tree is blue, and your hedges are orange. And that's a fact. If you're stating your opinion or lie as fact, I'm stating mine too. Yes, two wrongs don't make a right, but they're getting away with murder over there. So I says, I'm not going to let you live this one. For every lie you spill out, or you spew out, I'll join right with you. And lie also. That the sky is plaid, the sun is green, the trees are blue, and the hedge is orange. Hey, it's a fact. You got your facts, I got my facts. Alright. Well, that's about all I want to talk about. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you soon. And hopefully I'll talk about something fun next time. Okay. Take care. Bye.